All right, everyone, it is 2 o'clock on the nose, and I know that everyone is extremely busy. And so I thought we would be very punctual and get started right on time. So I'm hoping that everyone can hear me okay. If you cannot, for whatever reason, please feel free to send me a note in the chat section of Zoom here, and we will see if we can get that taken care of. I am actually going to mute all the lines here. And hopefully everyone can still hear me. But hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I think today is Tuesday. I'm sure everyone is likely getting confused on what day it is, as all of us are working from home and getting used to working from home. I know for me, I am not used to working from home 5 days a week. So it has been quite an adjustment. But I want to first start by saying thank you guys so much for taking the time out to join us this afternoon. With everything going on in our communities and in the world, I'm sure it is extremely hectic and incredibly busy for everyone. So I appreciate you taking the time out to join me and learn a little bit more about ISG's GoToWebinar Module for iMIS. I know, like I just said a moment ago, it's likely been a huge adjustment for all of you, going from being in the office amongst colleagues to working remotely. A lot of folks are having to be parents as well as teachers. I am not one of those folks. I am just a dog mom. I do not have human children, just dog children, and of course, so many other changes. And I also know that communication with your members, offering virtual meetings, and also learning opportunities is of the utmost importance today, probably more than it's ever been. I mean, who would have thought that we would be dealing with a pandemic like COVID-19? And I also want you to know that everyone here at ISG Solutions wishes all of you on the line and all of your colleagues continued safety and health as we battle this pandemic together. And I wanted to go over just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started on today's webinar. Of course, as I mentioned, all of the participant lines are muted this afternoon, and that's really just to prevent background noise and disruption during the demonstration. But please, if you have any questions during the demonstration, jot them down. If you want to type them up in the question and answer pane, please feel free to do so. I have my colleague, Sarah Scheinhorn, on the line with me as well. We are going to be happy to answer those questions after the demo portion of the webinar before we disconnect. I'm also going to attempt to unmute the lines when we are finished, and you can certainly ask your question out loud. We would be happy to answer it that way as well. This is not going to be a long demo. We don't want to take up a bunch of your time. We know everybody's extremely busy. And to be honest, the module is extremely easy to explain and use, and so we're just going to keep the truck moving here. And I am Megan Schenkel, and I'm a Senior Account Executive with ISG Solutions. I'm this person up here in the right-hand corner of the screen, and as I mentioned, my colleague Sarah is on the line listening as well this afternoon. She is actually muted right now, so unfortunately she can't say hello, but she will join us at the end of the session, so we'll go ahead and jump right in. And I've noticed some familiar names on the attendee roster this afternoon, which makes me smile. And we've been working with some of you folks for quite a long time. But I have also noticed a couple of names that I have not seen before. So for those of you that are less familiar with ISG, I thought it would be neat to provide you with a quick overview of our company. So one thing that we are extremely excited to talk about is that we are celebrating our 30th anniversary this year. That's super exciting for us. We started off in the industry implementing and supporting accounting packages many, many moons ago, and then became a reseller of iMIS when iMIS was first developed back in the iMIS LAN days. And there are a couple of people on the line that I know remember iMIS LAN, and that doesn't age you at all. And I've been working with, and we've been working with iMIS ever since. So actually since 1995 to be exact. And we are an association experts. And we have about 20 employees here at ISG, and we're strictly an iMIS shop. And we have experience with iMIS and anything iMIS related. and we have certified iMIS professionals as well as certified iMIS extension developers on staff here as well. And I think our consulting team, which is the heart of our company here at ISG, bring a unique level of experience to our organization, as most of our team have worked for associations themselves prior to coming to ISG. The average tenure of an ISG staff person is 10+ years. I actually myself have been part of the ISG family for more than 17 years, so that's something that's super exciting for me personally. And then last but not least, we are completing projects on time and on budget. That is something that we pride ourselves with, and we are now offering fixed price contracts, and that's something we are also very excited about. So today's demo, we're going to focus on the value of using ISG's GoToWebinar module for iMIS. We're going to talk about its features. We're going to talk briefly about the workflow between iMIS and GoToWebinar. And there are a couple of requirements that are needed to use this module, so we're going to touch on those as well. So let's start by talking about why should you use ISG's GoToWebinar module for iMIS. So while many or most of you have likely offered webinars or online learning opportunities to your members in the past, as I mentioned when I did the introduction, now more than ever, offering these virtual opportunities are so incredibly important. I know that probably many of you have likely had to cancel in-person meetings or are considering canceling in-person meetings. I know that almost every day I'm talking to clients of mine that have conferences, big conferences or small meetings even, that are coming up in the coming days or weeks or months, that they're having to consider making them virtual. I actually recently attended the ASI Innovations Conference, just some personal experience. And this conference is normally held in Orlando, Florida every year. But given the quick spread and concern surrounding COVID-19, the folks at ASI just decided a week and a half before the conference was set to happen to make their entire conference, which was 2 full days with several sessions, virtual for the safety of everyone attending and presenting at the conference. And in fact, they used GoToWebinar for that meeting. And I want to give ASI huge kudos for that, because the meeting went extremely well. There were many different presenters, there were a bunch of different sessions, and with really only having a week and a half to make that happen, they did an absolutely phenomenal job. I myself had never had the opportunity to attend the Innovations Conference in Orlando in the past. And so it was kind of neat for me because it was made virtual. It gave me the opportunity to attend. So you may actually find that when you virtualize some of these meetings, some of the folks that may not be able to attend your meetings on a regular basis because of travel restrictions not related to COVID-19 may actually be able to attend with those virtual opportunities. So you may actually see some new faces being able to attend your meetings. And so for those of you who are nervous or even skeptical to have a conference become virtual, please know that it is possible, and it is also very possible for it to be a great success. And so some of the reasons I think that it's important to think about using ISG's GoToWebinar module for iMIS specifically is it's a way for you to increase your non-dues revenue. You know, you want to, maybe you have these meetings and they cost money and you still want to bring money into your association, especially right now given this tough time. This is a way for you to do that. You can offer your webinars based off of your pricing in iMIS, whether that's non-member or member pricing, whether maybe you want to offer some of these meetings for free. Maybe they're smaller meetings and you want to offer them as a member benefit for free given the COVID-19 pandemic, or maybe they are paid webinars. And you really want to offer your members a streamlined registration process. This module will allow you to use GoToWebinar to continue using iMIS, but to allow for a very streamlined registration process. And I'll talk about that more in just a second. So really, to talk about the features of the module, the registration process, I talked a second ago about streamlining that registration process, and I really think that is the key to the ISG GoToWebinar Module for iMIS. The registration process will happen in one place, and that's Rise. So all of your folks that are used to registering for your meetings in iMIS Rise, that's where they're going to go register for your meetings now. We understand how important it is to gather that registrant data in your iMIS database, and therefore the registration process will take place as it would for any in-person event in your iMIS database. Your users will not have to register in iMIS and then again in GoToWebinar. Some of you may already be using GoToWebinar now, and you may have your users register in GoToWebinar directly. And then maybe you're hand keying that registrant information into iMIS, or maybe you're not even putting that data into iMIS at all. And this really keeps you from housing that important information in the database and being able to report on it. With having your users register in iMIS, you can gather all of that super important information in your membership database and report on it as you wish. And then once registered in iMIS, that registration information is going to be sent from Rise to GoToWebinar automatically. So what we're going to do is we're going to schedule a job that's going to send at any frequency that you would like. So if you want it to run every minute, if you want it to run every hour or once a day, we're going to send that registrant information over to GoToWebinar, where they're automatically going to be registered in GoToWebinar. So you as a staff person don't have to register them in GoToWebinar, and them as an attendee or as a registrant do not have to register themselves in GoToWebinar. The only place they have to register is in Rise. And then all of that payment information is taken in Rise, as likely most of your transactional information is already done currently. And if the webinar is free, then there would obviously be no payment taken. And there are a couple of things that are coming soon. So we are, for those of you that are using iMIS Cloud, the cloud version of iMIS, ISG's GoToWebinar Module for iMIS will be cloud compatible in just a couple of weeks. We are also going to be adding a couple of new features to the ISG GoToWebinar Module for iMIS, and that is when the user attends the webinar that they've registered for, we are going to send that information back to iMIS so that you can not only see that they've attended, but how long they attended. You know, it may be important to some of you that, hey, they just attended, but it also may be very important for you to know that they've attended and that they attended for the entire session, not just that they logged in and disappeared. GoToWebinar records how long the person has attended the meeting. So to talk a little bit more specifically about the workflow, so as I mentioned, the registrant registers for the webinar in Rise. The information is then passed from Rise to GoToWebinar automatically by a scheduled job. Again, that scheduled job can be set to run at any frequency that you would like, every day, every hour, every minute, whichever you prefer. And then the registrant is going to receive a purchase confirmation from Rise. That's the normal purchase confirmation that Jane Smith has registered for this meeting. But then they will also receive registration confirmation from GoToWebinar with the login information needed to attend or view the session, whether it's a live session or a pre-recorded webinar. And then there's going to be an activity that's going to be sent from GoToWebinar to iMIS to show if the person was successfully registered for the session. We're also going to include with this an IQA report that you can run that's going to show you successful or unsuccessful registrations in GoToWebinar. So you can see all of that information directly in iMIS. You can also see that information in GoToWebinar if you happen to be a staff person and you want to see who is registered for the webinar, for the meeting in GoToWebinar. You as an admin can go into GoToWebinar and look at that information also, but all of that information is going to be located in your iMIS database as well. And as I mentioned early on, there are a couple of requirements that you will have to meet in order to use the module, and we think it's important for you to know that up front. So you must be on version 20.2. As I had mentioned a moment ago, we are making this iMIS Cloud compatible. That will happen in the next couple of weeks. By the end of May, it will be compatible with iMIS Cloud. So if you're a premise-based iMIS, you should be on version 20.2 or higher. If you, or you can be on iMIS Cloud. You must be licensed for GoToWebinar Standard, Pro, or Enterprise. And of course, you will have to set up the event in both Rise and GoToWebinar. So you can add the required meeting details into the GoToWebinar iPart in your Rise staff site, which I'll show you in just a second. And then your users will need to have a unique email address, and that's really going to ensure that the confirmation emails reach them directly, and so that they can actually log into the session, the webinar, and GoToMeeting successfully. And here is just a screenshot of that GoToWebinar iPart that I mentioned. So this is going to be located in your Rise staff site. And as you can see, you would go to your event tab, and then you would have a GoToWebinar integration tab here. And really, it's a matter of just once you set up your meeting in GoToWebinar, you're going to receive a webinar and an organizer key from GoToWebinar. You're going to stick that here in this iPart with the associated iMIS meeting, and that's what connects the two meetings. That's how iMIS and GoToWebinar are going to know to communicate with one another for the correct meeting. It is very easy to use. As part of the installation and configuration, one of our team members at ISG will train you on how to locate the iPart and use it, but it is very, very self-explanatory. And just to recap briefly what we talked about, so the value of ISG's GoToWebinar module is really that your users are going to register in iMIS Rise, the system that they are familiar with registering for your meetings now, so you can gather all of that really important registrant data and report on it. Registration information is sent from Rise to GoToWebinar automatically, so you as a staff person or your members or non-members as registrants do not have to register in both places. You can review the information as a staff person in both places, but you do not have to have a person register in both places. The transactions associated with these registrations, if paid for meetings, are all captured and processed through iMIS Rise. Registrant information is automatically sent from Rise to GoToWebinar by a scheduled job, and then an activity is going to be written back into iMIS showing that the registration has been completed. And then again, you will need to have iMIS 20.2 or iMIS Cloud here in a couple of weeks. You need to be licensed for GoToWebinar Standard, Pro, or Enterprise. You would set up the meeting in both Rise and GoToWebinar, and your users must have a unique email address. And as I had mentioned here, also when we launch the iMIS Cloud compatible version of the module, that is also when we will release the feature for both versions, premise-based and cloud, that will allow that attendee activity to go back into iMIS, showing that the person not only registered for the event, but they also attended and how long they attended, so that you have that information available in your iMIS database as well. So as I mentioned, this is a very easy module. I think the value is huge, but I think the understanding is very easy. I am going to actually have Sarah join us now. Sarah has been a huge lifesaver in keeping tabs on the question and answer pane for me. So I'm actually going to open up the lines here in just a second so that Sarah can join us with those questions. Sarah, I think I should be able to hear you.
Great. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Wonderful. Well, we do have a question. The first one is, let's see, what is the cost of the module?
So the cost of the module is going to be $3,600. It is a one-time fee. There is no separate installation or configuration cost. So it's just that one flat fee. And then in year 2, you're going to pay software maintenance, and that software maintenance is going to be $720 per year. But that will be starting in year 2.
Wonderful. So another question is, when you say scheduled job, do you require the process automation module as well? And
no, we do not at all.
Yep, that's a great question. We've had that one, and that's a wonderful question, so thank you. Let me see if there are any others. So the other question really was, will this be recorded to view again later? And the answer to that is yes. You probably heard at the beginning, Megan did record this, so we can certainly send you a link if you would like. And does the $700 per year for maintenance include support? You know,
that is a very good question. I want to say that when it, go ahead, Sarah.
No, go ahead. I was agreeing it's a good question.
Yes, I believe that when it comes to software support on this module, I believe, yes, that is included in that yearly fee. That also includes any sort of updates to the software. We can confirm that for sure. I'm sure that Sarah has the name of the person that asked that question. We will confirm that for sure. But I am fairly certain that does include that does include support on the module. Absolutely. But we will find that out for sure.
We will certainly confirm that. It does definitely include, paying that includes any future, will provide you the ability to upgrade or have future enhancements, not upgrade necessarily, but provide future enhancements. How often is the software, I think I just saw a question, now I lost it. How often is the software updated? Well, it's updated. So, I was just going to say it would be updated if we add new functionality, or if there's an update on the GoToWebinar side that requires a new feature or a new function to be compatible with iMIS or with new versions of iMIS. Did you want to add something to that, Megan?
Nope, that's perfect.
Okay, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine.
Did I answer that question? It looks like I got the other questions. I just want to make sure if there's any follow-up to that, let me know, please. I think I'm going to see here. We don't have any hands raised. Looks like that was the last question.
Well, great. We do, just so everyone knows, I believe that the lines are unmuted. So if there is anyone that does want to ask any questions aloud, you are absolutely welcome to. As you can see here, on this slide that's showing, if you have any questions, of course, if you are familiar with Sarah or myself, you are more than welcome to reach out to either of us if we work with you on a regular basis. You are more than welcome to reach out to Sarah or myself to ask any additional follow-up questions. You can also reach out to sales@isgsolutions.com, and we would certainly be happy to answer any questions that you have. Sarah or myself will be getting in touch with each of you in the next day or so, just to check in. Thank you for joining us, and of course, ask you if you have any additional questions or would like any additional information. So you will be hearing from one of us in the next day or so. But if there are no other questions, there is nothing more that I have to say this afternoon, other than that I really, really appreciate you sharing your time with us this afternoon. And of course, please stay safe and healthy. And Sarah, did you have another question come through?
I did. We had another question come in, and it's a good one with a good answer. So I wanted to make sure we got to it.
Sure thing.
Yeah, I like to have the good news. So it's a great way to end the webinar, right? How long does it take to get set up? And actually,
fast.
Really quick process. Yeah, we're turning these around pretty quickly. So if this is something that you're interested in, we can talk about, once we get the logistics done, which doesn't take very long either. on our end. So once that's, work order is signed or whatever, it can be set up really quite quickly. We generally say within a week to two, but we're seeing it happen maybe even quicker when needed.
Oh yeah, I would say right now, especially given the need for this sort of thing, when we have a signed work order in place, we're able to have this installed and working within a week.
Yep. So hopefully,
great question.
Yep. Wonderful. Well, thank you. And that was all I had. I just had good news on that one, so I wanted to make sure we ended with that one, Megan.
Well, great. Well, thank you everyone for, again, taking the time to join us this afternoon. We did not want to take up a bunch of your time. Our goal was to keep the webinar at under 30 minutes, and I think we kept that goal. So I hope that everybody stays safe and healthy. I hope that you all have a fantastic week. It is only Tuesday, so we do have a couple of more days to go. And we will be in touch with all of you. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you all.